Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. This is Derek McCaw, editor-in-chief of fanboyplanet.com, and, of course, host of whatever you want to call this, the Fanboy Planet YouTube channel. And today, I have a conversation with a person who has been my friend since, the summer before 7th grade, because we were actually in a music summer school before we went to middle school. And recently, she reached out to me and asked, I'm sorry that I'm going to out you right now, Martha, that you asked me what the heck is going on with WandaVision. So I thought this is a fantastic conversation to have because I am completely steeped in reading these comics, and I've seen every Marvel movie at least once, some more than once. And again, read all the comics. I probably even have all the action figures. I don't know how many Scarlet Witch or Wanda figures I have, at least 2. So this is Martha Garcia. Again, been friends since, oh Lord, 1977. And and so
we were boyfriend and girlfriend for a time in 6th and 7th grade.
I know, yeah, 7th grade. I didn't want to bill you that way. Yeah. And this, ladies and gentlemen, this is my 7th grade girlfriend, Martha Garcia. So Martha, you know, you reached out, you asked for all the backdrop, which of course, sadly, I love being able to just go, ooh, wait till I can get to a keyboard and really type this out and give you all the background information. But you know, my main question is, if you really, we were just talking, you've seen some of the Marvel movies, you've seen Iron Man, Thor, I think you mentioned probably Captain America.
Yes.
Everybody's seen Captain America because, you know, Chris Evans is a dream. And so, but you really weren't into the Avengers films. That's what was the really surprising thing for me, is you said, like, who's Ultron? And I went, wow.
I did. I saw the first Avenger, and after that, that was pretty much it.
Yeah. I mean, but, you know, there's, you know, so why, other than you have a Disney Plus subscription, why would you have been interested in watching WandaVision?
Again, very simple answer. I watched all of The Mandalorian, absolutely loved it, both seasons. I'm a Star Wars kid, as you know. One of the reasons we were friends back in 7th grade was because you were so into Star Wars, and I thought that was cool. So after Mandalorian ended, a very close friend of mine named Chris Sabga posted on Facebook that he had watched the first episode of WandaVision and thought it was fantastic, and if you love The Mandalorian, you'll love this. And I knew nothing about WandaVision, had no clue what it was about. But I thought, okay, well, Chris, I trust Chris's opinion of things, so why not? I'll check it out. So my husband and I sat down that Friday night and started watching, and I think they had dropped the first 2 episodes at once. So we're watching, and we're just like, what is this? It's like this woman and this robot and the 1950s sitcom and the canned laughter, and what the hell is happening? And I think it became clear to us that something strange is going on. We didn't really know what. And so we get to the end of the first episode and we're like, well, do you want to give the second episode a shot? And we did. And so by the end of the second episode, we both thought, we have no clue what the hell is happening, but it has us intrigued enough that we want to see more because we are so lost. So yeah, we finished the 3rd episode, and I think that was when I wrote to you and said, because everybody should know that Derek is my go-to guy for anything Marvel, Star Wars, anything. I go to Derek.
Well, thank you. And I'm going to be nerdy. This is why I push my glasses up. It's not a robot. He's a synthezoid. But anyway. My
apologies. I should have known better.
Yeah. So you're intrigued, but you are confused. And so that's, and I don't mean that to be derisive. It's like it was both meant to be confusing, obviously, for when to fill in for you is when we left them off in Endgame, was the Vision was destroyed. And I think episode 4 finally really, you know, made that clearer.
That was one of my, that's what Derek meant moments.
So, you know, so again, it's, did you have an, I guess what intrigued you beyond that was, did you have a difficult time, like, realizing who Wanda was. And say, like in episode 3, when Geraldine, who we now know is Monica, who also I realized you've never seen Captain Marvel, so you didn't know who she appeared as a little girl in that one, because that took place in 1995. And when she says, "Oh, you had a twin," and when they bring up everything about Pietro, and which I'm not even sure she actually said Pietro, so I'm probably giving you more out of Age of Ultron.
She did.
She did. Then that's the question is, once those things were falling into place, were you able to still appreciate the characterization and so forth before you even knew all those things?
Yes, but I should preface that by saying that I knew 2 things, and I wasn't sure how they tied in. But first of all, when we started the show, after my friend's recommendation, I thought, okay, this is something from the Marvel Universe, because the credits roll and they have this thing in the credits that they have before all the Marvel movies. So
right.
Okay, well, this has something to do with superheroes. And then I saw Paul Bettany. And I saw Elizabeth Olsen, who Chris had referred to as the 3rd Olsen twin. And I thought, okay, I remember he was the voice of Jarvis. And yes. I know she was in the Avengers movies, none of the ones that I saw, but she was in them. So I thought, okay, how is this tying in? So I had this little idea that something was going on, but it took a couple episodes and your explanation to start piecing it together for me.
And I gotta say, on a personal note, I'm most stunned about your not seeing the Avengers movies, because that's really where Hawkeye, played by your fictional boyfriend Jeremy Renner, is really
one of my many boyfriends.
One of your many boyfriends, but that's where Hawkeye gets the most development, and so that really surprised me that you had not gone to seen those films. But that's okay. That's for another day. And your husband.
And my Paul Rudd love. I didn't see that, the Ant-Man. I mean, honestly, I was a much better girlfriend to you in the 7th grade. Jeremy Renner or Paul Rudd. I supported you.
That's right. We were in a play together. Anyway, man, yeah, okay. Oh, I might have to edit. No, I'll let it go. But anyway, no, and that is interesting too, because there are I think, and I'll say this right now. My big theory, and I've seen other people say this too, is this series is going to be a lot more pivotal to what they're trying to do with the larger Marvel universe, which I will admit, I think from what our conversations have been, that's not of that great interest to you. So that's always my concern when they do these things where it's all one huge, long epic. Is that making sense? Or, is it working the way they want to? Because Jimmy Woo said, Randall Park, who shows up here in WandaVision, was from Ant-Man and the Wasp. And in fact, and there's I got to say this one little nerdy thing. When he makes his business card appear to Monica, is a complete off-screen character development, because Paul Rudd was under house arrest and Jimmy was his FBI liaison to check in on him. And during the year that Paul Rudd was supposed to be under house arrest, he learned magic to keep his young daughter entertained. And Jimmy Woo was like, "Oh, that's really cool. I wish I could learn that." And so by the time we see WandaVision, he can. It's 5 years later, or because the other thing I forgot is that WandaVision still actually takes place in our future. It's a world it's a world that didn't have COVID, because basically half of the world's population disappeared for 5 years. And then it's 2022, I think, is when WandaVision is supposedly actually taking place. So Jimmy's had this 5-year gap of character development we never saw. And same thing with the last time we saw Monica, was she was a little girl. But it's going to be very pivotal. They mentioned things like, oh, we had an astronaut program that's not going well. Well, the things that happened in between, as I mentioned to you off screen, are that Marvel got the rights back cinematically to X-Men and Fantastic Four. Well, the Fantastic Four were created by an astronaut program that went wrong. So they mentioned this in the show, basically the seeds of Fantastic Four, which I have no idea if you would care.
And I can just imagine somebody like you just loving this, eating it up.
Yeah. And that, with the mention of Pietro as well, we know that Pietro was in the X-Men movies.
Who played him in the X-Men movies? Because I know Aaron Taylor Johnson played him in the Marvel movies.
Evan Peters.
Oh, okay.
And I got to be honest, and it's partially the way they characterized him. They wrote him he was a far more interesting character in X-Men movies than he was in the Avengers. I mean, that's both different actor, but also there was something Evan Peters brought to it that was just like, yeah, we want to watch. I could have watched an entire Quicksilver movie from that, because he was just so interesting on screen and had a good arc that they kind of bobbled, but that's a different story too. So then the possibility is that with her reality warping powers, she might bring that version of Pietro in. And there are some people that are saying there have been clues to all kinds of comics things. So, I mean, you're going to stick with this show. So that's right. You're going to follow.
Right. So we're almost halfway through.
Yeah.
And
so
my main thing was, why New Jersey? Because, but I'm originally from New Jersey. And so whenever I see things from New Jersey, I'm like, woo, New Jersey. So is that part of the Marvel universe, or that?
Yeah. Actually, they settled in, and I wouldn't know it because that's the funny thing. When I was growing up reading these comics, I just thought it was funny that it was like small town suburbia. I had no sense of the geography. Mm-hmm. Like, I can't remember what year you moved to California, like 75. I mean, it's obviously 76, before, right before we met. Mm-hmm. But I didn't know anybody from the East Coast. My family's always been West Coast, so it to me was like, oh, just a small town. I didn't quite get. It was also callow, I didn't get that joke about. Yeah, they went over. The Avengers were in New York, but Wanda and the Vision went to a small town, a small suburb in New Jersey, and tried to start a regular domestic life there. Mm-hmm. So I can't remember the name of the town. It was a real one, because that was the Marvel thing. Was they tried for a very long time to not make up place names. Like, I think for the TV show they have, because they realize you can't really trademark and sell like a, whatever Newark play set, the rights to Newark, but you can to Westview. And so, or Westfield, whichever, I don't remember which it is. That's the mall. So Westview, so that's changed for movies, but it is something else. I've been curious. Again, I see complaints from people who are comics fans that they're very afraid that Wanda's going to turn out to be some kind of villain, or because in comics, because Wanda was a character created in 1964, I think, and Marvel has never rebooted. They're constantly there. Every character has their good turn, their heel turn. It's like wrestling, that their faces and their heels, and their faces and their heels again. But the TV shows and the movies, which I'm going to say is, I think one of the things that's confusing to people about WandaVision is it really would work as a 4-hour movie, because they were doing, like, I think Avengers, the last Avengers was 3.5 hours. So I don't blame your husband really for not wanting to sit through that on a weekend. It's just, it's too much. But
I'm just going to ask you a question. What was WandaVision in the works before Disney Plus became a thing?
I don't think so. Or what I suspect was going to happen was, we knew what I'm going to play inside baseball. Some things happened internally in production that changed the game. There used to be a separate studio called Marvel Television. It was still owned by Disney, but that's where you got Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Runaways, and there's still one more show on Hellstrom on Hulu right now, and Cloak and Dagger, that was the other one. And it was a different studio, and they did the Netflix shows too. But they kept saying, "Oh, it's all connected, but they were run by different people. And the guy who runs Marvel Studios now, Kevin Feige, basically stepped in and said, okay, he had to answer to somebody at Marvel that he didn't like answering to. I'm not going to, name names. But he went to the Disney bigwigs and said, I need to run my own studio. So he did. And then they said, and he said, kind of somewhere, I think the story will come out that he said, I think we need to be in charge of the TV shows too. And so this is the first show that has come out under that. And I was at D23, which is the Disney convention, when they announced, oh, we're going to do WandaVision. And everybody was like, what? But actually, the other thing is COVID messed things up. This was not supposed to be the first series that they showed on Disney Plus. Marvel. It was supposed to be the Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Oh, okay. I mean, I've heard of those, but I don't really know.
Filming had to be halted. It was shut down because of COVID. Whereas with most of WandaVision being clearly like soundstage, it was easier to get the protocols in place and finish it. So that show, the other show, has been put back into production, so we'll get that in a couple of months, and we will get a Hawkeye series with Jeremy Renner.
I do follow his Instagram. I'm not that into him anymore, but I do follow his Instagram. Okay. He's been shooting with
Haley Steinfeld.
Haley Steinfeld. Rich my husband calls her Haley Seinfeld. Like,
okay, well, yeah, playing.
Yeah, and so I'm gonna watch it.
Yeah. Okay. So you're gonna still do what you did, which is dip back into Marvel if something particularly is interested. You're not interested in the entire universe,
right?
Yeah, but things are clearer.
I know we're still friends.
We will stay friends. We will stay friends, absolutely. But my remaining question, and just to wrap up, is with episode 4, where a lot of the behind the scenes things happened. They sort of explained the blip, which probably was like, what was that to you? And they started filling in all these other continuity things. Did suddenly everything maybe not suddenly, but did everything make more sense to you?
I wouldn't say it made complete sense, but it definitely made a lot more sense, and many more things lined up. His voice on the radio in episode 2. What's her name? Monica?
Yeah.
Was sort of a spy, and she had no home. And Wanda sent her packing through about 50 walls and fences, and then she flew out into...
Oh, can I say, honestly, how many it was? It was 4. She broke through the 4th wall.
The 4th wall. Oh, nice. See?
Yeah.
You picked that up, or was that just obvious to people way smarter than me?
No. It's just we're nerds. We're like going,
and you're a nerd and I'm kind of a geek, so that's, I don't know.
But you're a musician, right? Still,
right. I'm a band
as a drummer. So, so those things in place. Also, I'll say for those watching, one thing that was really interesting off of episode 4 is that we got the real names of almost everybody, but for 2 people, and Jimmy Woo was called out there in the first place because of somebody in witness protection. They did not identify that person. So there are 2 characters that have not been given their real identities, if they are actually real, and that is the social villain Emma Caulfield, who is just very judgmental, and then Catherine Hahn as Agnes. Now,
Agnes is the busybody neighbor.
Yes.
And who was the first one? Was she sort of the socialite neighbor?
Yes, she's the icy blonde that everybody has to kowtow to. Okay. So, not sure if she'll be revealed as an actual villain, because, the question is, how much is Wanda actually in control of what's going on? It is a very odd thing for her subconscious to have created. Because she's not American, but definitely these fantasies are very steeped in American sitcoms. Although, again,
and you pointed that out in your Wanda dump that you gave me, and you mentioned something about how she has a lilting accent that comes and goes, and I haven't noticed that. So, kind of wondering if I should go back and watch again. Just be
it came back. It came back up when she said when Ultron was mentioned, and. Okay. There was and then she started singing a Sokovian lullaby to the boys.
Okay.
So it's just it is interesting there. I have a theory as to who Agnes actually is. And I think what we'll discover is that these are 2 characters who are basically fighting for, I don't know when to say control of Wanda, but but to shape which direction Wanda is going to go in. So,
well, I feel like my only area of disappointment was that knowing nothing else, I thought this was going to be this cool show that was set in different decades. And so I thought every episode we were going to have a different decade of television. And I don't know if that's still in the cards or if that was it. And now there'll be this story of them trying to figure out what Wanda's doing. And I was hoping for the 80s and the 90s, but maybe we'll get.
I think we're going to get them. I think we are going to get them. They're just now there's a little bit of more balance. I think the pacing is interesting because the other confusing thing about this is, like I said, if it was a film, you would have put up with those decades and not knowing that's act one, not knowing what was going on the first 3 episodes. And then
Right.
and then we get this little interstitial, by the way, this is what's going on, and then we go into act 2 and act 3. And to that end, so I'll ask you this, because I think I'm going to try to do the same thing, is when it's all over, watch it in like more of a sitting, maybe not one sitting, but get through 3 or 4 episodes in a night and see, oh yeah, this makes more sense. I'm with you, with your husband at least. I often have better things to do or more important things to do with my time.
Yeah.
But so I don't rewatch as much as we used to. I mean, because good Lord, how many times did we see Star Wars in 1977 and 1978? But there was
25.
nothing. 25. There is nothing else to do then. It was the 70s. So, but I think that's the thing. I think it will probably play better as a binge. But I very much appreciate that their model is not letting us have that, because we get to have like a weekly, I checked in with you.
Yeah, no.
Martha, is this making sense to you? So good. So thank you for taking this time to have this conversation. Really appreciate it. And, you know, the next series you drop in on and say, what the heck's going on? I may have to pull you back in and say, okay, does this one make more sense? I think this is the weirdest thing they're going to do. But, you know, that's...
Who knows? You can call it like a WTF with Martha or something.
Okay, that's it. Thanks for watching. Hit the subscribe button to make sure you don't miss out on any Fanboy Planet videos. And remember, use your powers for good.